Is that recording? That's recording. Hello. Oh, yes. That is Timothy. Oh, no, low battery. No, I've just started. How can oh, 5%. Welcome to Dyke River Dyeworks. This is the very first podcast for Dyke River Dyeworks, and for me, it's a podcast about knitting, spinning, dyeing, colour, cats, art, drawing, painting, all those creative type things that we seem to lack so much in these days that we live in. Hand spinning. I'm probably going to cut this. I'm an established artist. Established? I'm practicing. I've been doing art and design for a long time. I'm just recently taught myself how to spin. I've been knitting for 6 years, maybe. So, yeah, I'd like to share all that with you. I'm Kay. You can find me on Ravelry as AndelaineKay and on Instagram as AndelaineKay. That's ANDELAINEK, K-A-Y, AndelaineKay. You won't find me on Instagram that often because where we live, here at Lower Creek, we don't get any mobile reception. Nothing. So following people, following stories on Instagram just doesn't happen. We don't get text messages, nothing. We are in a mobile black hole. So best way to get in contact with me is through the comments in YouTube or on something else. Yeah, in the comments on YouTube or Ravelry, yes, that's a good one. I'll have to tell you why I'm starting this podcast. Again, it revolves around living in a remote rural setting. I don't get to go to knit nights or crafting days or classes. We live on a farm that's probably 2 hours from the nearest town. That's about 100 k's in west and about 100 kilometres east. And the road is a dirt track. It's not a dirt track, but in some places it's only one car wide, and passing vehicles in the opposite direction can be a little bit hazardous. So yeah, it's about 100 k's at about 60 kilometres an hour, if that, in some stretches. Yeah. Yes. We live on a farm. It's called Andelaine. We grow turmeric, chili, ginger, garlic, beetroot, all using organic farming methods, and it's all machinery free because our plot is so small. We don't have the machinery, so it's all planted by hand, dug in by hand, harvested by hand. From that, we make chili sauces and purees and condiments, and sell those through farmers markets. So that's Andelaine Farm. We have a website, andelaine.farm. We've had to have a bit of a break from that. Hopefully I'll get back into the swing of making the sauces and purees and things in about April. I had some very serious health issues in January. I was going to start this podcast in January 1st. Yes, start the new podcast. But I had a bit of a heart problem, and so that was put off for a little while. And plus it's stinking hot. It was 44 degrees Celsius on our veranda. So doing anything in January is just like, and then came February, I still wasn't terribly well. So I thought, well, autumn, I'll start this seasonally instead of doing it monthly. Autumn is a good time to start talking about fibre-related arts and crafts, and taking you down into my studio where I have spinning wheels and my easels, and we'll talk about arts and crafts down in the studio. At the moment we're in the house. Our house is a pole frame hexagonal, 3-tiered construction, very alternative. So my husband and I suppose we'd call us not mainstream. So there you go. I have here, I did mention in the intro a little bit about spinning. Now I'm a beginner spinner. And I have here my first project. It's only, I bought a Rolex. I bought some Rolex. Had no idea what to do with them. And put them on started YouTube. I'll go YouTube for learning to spin or knit or do anything really. And I spun, it's now a cat blanket. Oh, look how lumpy that is. This here is the Rolex that I bought. It's a blend of merino and all sorts of things. This over here is just straight merino. This here is an alpaca. I have alpaca fleeces going out the wazoo. People found out that I had a spinning wheel. Oh, we've got some alpaca fleece. Do you want some? Me, in my complete ignorance, said, yes, please. They're raw. Some of them are raw. They have all sorts of stuff in them. I haven't got to them yet. And this here is some raw fleece that I picked up at a market. And I thought, I've spun this all by myself, so I'm going to knit it. And this is what turned out like. I actually made something. How cool is that? But yeah, it's nothing like, is it Grace O'Neill, Babel's Travelling Yarns? Oh my god, she's my spinning hero. Fabulous. She's fabulously talented lady. My second project, again, I'd gotten some Rolex and some alpaca fleece, and I knit. I spun it up. Okay, it's a little bit better than the first. So this is the second thing I'd ever spun. Not too bad, I don't think anyway. From this, I'm showing them. Yeah, from this. So, and then I thought, I've spun this up, I'm going to knit a beanie with it. So I did. Now, I have this unusual thing. It's called body dysmorphia. Now, it's where you think in your head that your body, your physical being, is a completely different size to what it actually is. And for me, I have an internal body image that I am the size of a house or bigger. It's at least, if you have 5XL in sizes, that's what I think my size is. Not here. Now, guaranteed, I've always been very large. I have been reducing in size, but still in here, completely disproportionate to what I actually am. And that includes my head. So I knit this up and I made a bag. I made a bag for my head. I look like an octopus. Oh my god. Yeah, don't know which way it's supposed to go. But I did take it to the markets. I wore it to the markets. This is my market hat. And when it's minus 2 degrees Celsius, which is cold for here, 2 degrees Celsius at 6 o'clock in the morning, and there's frost on the ground and it's crispy, it keeps my head warm because there's a lot of alpaca in this. Yeah, so, and I don't care if people laugh at me. And I thought, oh, I'll put a pom-pom on it, but I had a stitch marker in it that I'd made, and I thought, no, I'm going to keep the stitch marker in there because that's really cute and it matches the colours perfectly. Oh, I can't tell my left from my right, my up from my down. I don't know. Anyway, it's a butterfly with beads. I have butterfly tattoos. Don't judge me. I have butterfly tattoos, not because they're pretty, but because they represent cycles and change. So there we go. All right. Third spinning project. I'll have to mention that the spinning wheel that I have is it's called a Van Dyke. It was made by a gentleman that lived on the mid-north coast of New South Wales and made these spinning wheels in the, let me think, late 60s and 70s. And it's a traditional setup wheel at the side. Yeah. And I bought some alpaca roving, and I thought, oh, I'm getting good at this. Good on me. I'm going to spin this up, and I thought the best way to learn is to keep at it, and I spun up this. I showed it earlier. This. Now I've knitted up into a cowl, and I have overspun it, and this hasn't been washed or blocked or anything as yet. I've just spun it up. I did wash it and try and set the spin twist in it. Yeah, newbie. And then I knit it up. Now it's really stretchy. I plied it then with some vintage merino. I'm very much into budget yarns, as well as not rehoming, reusing, recycling yarn of quality, I suppose. Merino, animal fibres, not quality. Good on me. So I've got a huge amount of vintage yarns that are 100% wool, merino. I've got some glorious 80s mohair, and and all sorts of yarns from Brine Island. I think it was from the 50s and 60s that I wouldn't use in garments or anything like that. I'd crochet it up into maybe the sole for some slippers or homewares or that sort of thing, but nothing for the kitchen because it's nylon. And yeah, from that to Peyton's Aztec, a whole range of different stuff. Eventually, when I get from the house here down into the studio, we'll have a look at some. But yes, so I think it was plied up with some Peyton's Inca, yeah. Don't quote me on that, but yeah. And then I've knitted up into this cowl, 2x2 ribbing. It's split, so that goes over your shoulders, and some stockinette, and there I go, making that farting noise again. Sorry. The other not stockinette stitch, which is yeah. yeah, that. Okay. So, just think that you're going to be look like a knight. Spam. So it goes over your shoulders, front and back, and goes under your jacket, and ta-da! Portly neck. Yep. Good on me. There we go. And it is very thick and very warm. And considering we're only just into autumn, it's been a little bit too warm to wear as yet. But come with the woolly jumper or the woolly jacket over the top, toasty as so. And there we go. So then my spinning projects. I have another wheel, which is, I think it's called a castle. It's an upright, called a Wee Peggy. It was given to me in exchange for a beanie, along with a hand carding machine, and a whole range of other stuff. So when we get down to the studio, we'll have a look at those eventually, if you still want to, that is. Next, crochet. I started out crocheting, taught myself to crochet. It was great therapy for after a hard day's teaching in high schools, teaching art and design and being a school counsellor. And I'd come home and hit the crochet. Now, crochet beanie, 100% acrylic. I went through times where I couldn't afford, that's really, there we go, back there, that colour. It's kind of like an oatmeal-y sort of colour. Went through times where I couldn't afford, and I had no idea about yarn types, content, thicknesses, anything. I just picked up a hook and went for it. And again, overestimated, excuse me, the size of my head. And yeah, it's kind of like a pimple on a pumpkin. Can you see that? Oh, look at that. I think I was aiming at something slouchy, but the yarn was a bit thick, and thick, and it will, with a bit of coaxing. I don't know if that's slashing enough, but again, what I was aiming for was something that was really, really, it's pushing my glasses, really warm, and that it is. I did a rural fire service, RFS, bushfire brigade, rural fire service driver course, doing a 4-wheel drive course, and it was sleeting while we were waiting for our vehicles, and I had this on, and I had my accompanying scarf, which is, again, body dysmorphia. It's really long. Yay. And I had this, and wrapped around me, and wrapped around me, and wrapped around me, and I was fine. I look like Mawson. Oh dear. Anyway, 100% acrylic. I can't say what the yarn brand is, but crocheted to look not quite like crochet, because I couldn't knit at the time, and I liked the look of knitting and ribbing and stockinette. So crocheted rib and ribbing and single crochet. So I'm going to mess myself up again. Man. And as you may notice, I don't mind laughing at myself. And everybody's like, "You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh." Really? Yes. Life's too hard without a laugh here and there. My next project, I eventually did learn to knit. I taught myself to knit. Yeah, again, YouTube, yay. And I thought, oh, this pattern's on Ravelry. Gitana, Gitana. And I think I was a little bit ambitious for a beginner's project. That's just grey. It's, again, vintage wool, 100%. This one here is a sport weight, 100% wool. I was just 100% wool, 100% wool. But it's really stretchy. I think it's a crepe, but I held it double. I just loved this colour. And I loved the pattern of the star shape on the top of these eyelets here. And it's my favourite beanie. And I love it. I love it. I prefer a slouchy beanie rather than a tight fitting beanie. Yeah. So if you want the links, see, the sun's coming out now. A link to the pattern on Ravelry. I'll attempt to do that for you. So there you go. I think I may have prattled on long enough for the moment. I have to mention, though, I do have inspiration from YouTube knitting podcasts. These people are, so talented. They just got their shit together. Something that I aspire to. Anyway, as I may have mentioned, it was Grace O'Neill from Babel's Travelling Yarns. I'll try and link these in the Uzi Whatsits below there, Ninja Chickens. Now, Ninja Chickens, her podcast I have, I think, a lot in common with. She's into things that are sustainable, nature-based, all of these. I'm generalising and surmising. Definitely go and check them out. But with Ninja Chickens, she lives in a not hexagonal, could be hexagonal, a differently shaped house like we do. Ours is, as I may have mentioned before, is pole framed and is made from timbers that were sourced across the road on our property. It's clad in roundbacks. I think hers is, I don't know, it looks like it has, is it cord wood where they have the circles of wood? I don't know. Check the podcast out. She does a lot of eco dyeing, which is something I'd love to have a go at, but I'm too scared to. The dyeing that I do, oh, by the way, is it's solar, coal dyeing. So I don't have to use electricity to heat pans and boil water and that sort of thing. Initially I do to mix the dye stuff, but after that I hand paint the yarns or dip dye or various other techniques, get the colour into the yarn, and then I put them in the sun, and the heat from the sun sets the dye in the yarn. Yes, I may not have mentioned that we're off grid, so we are not connected to 240. Australia has 240 volt power source. We're not connected to mains power. We're completely a standalone 12 volt system. So solar panels and batteries. We pump water from the river. We have a slow combustion heater for heat in the winter, and that also has a water jacket on it that heats our water. So we're alternative in a lot of ways. Anyway, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for being here, letting me talk at you, and sample a little bit of our brand of crazy or alternative. As I said, there'll be lots more to come. There's the art side of things, which I'm eager to get out there and give mini classes and answer anybody's questions or drawing, painting, any medium, any style. Just give me a hoy and we'll discuss it. And yes, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you later. Bye. Oh, I'm gonna